Hey guys, Matthew here, and it's about that time in the league where I start doing currency-related challenges where I basically build a new character or start a new account or whatever, and then I build up to a specific amount of currency. Now, I haven't decided yet if we're going for Editor, Mage Blood, Mirror, whatever it is. I haven't decided yet. It'll depend on how it's going so far. Now, for full disclosure, I want to say that this time around, I did not start from a brand new account or a new character or anything like that. I decided to recycle my actual league starter, which was my seismic trapper, so it's a level 94 saboteur. I stripped him of all of its gear. I emptied all my tabs and dumped that in some dump tabs. So I was starting with basically nothing except a single exalt. I gave myself one exalt budget to build the entire character, to buy the maps and the mapping supplies to start the challenge. Now, the reason I did that, which you might be wondering, why not actually start from nothing? It's very simple. Because you don't actually learn anything from watching me level a new character, and you don't actually learn anything from watching me run T1 or T2 maps. There's no currency to be made there at all, right? So the idea is that instead we are going to start with a character that's already built, an atlas that's already done. You know, I've got my favorite map slots. I've got everything I need to get going with the challenge, but I've got no currency, and I've got a single exalt is not a lot of money to build an entire character that's capable of doing T16, fairly juiced up maps, and I'll talk about that, what the strategy is in a bit when I go into the breakdown. But essentially, this entire character cost me 70 C to build, and then of course the gems were an additional, I think, 50 C or so. So when I was done building the entire character, including the gems, I had 30 C left on my exalt, so it cost me about 150 C for everything that you see on this character. Now, with the 30 C, I bought a few Careblade map in order to try to get a few maps to drop for my strategy. And it worked out okay. I bought 2 of these. I dropped 3 or so city squares, if I remember correctly, which was enough to get started. At that point, I had like 10 C left or so, 15 C left. So I bought a few scarabs, and we got going. Now, what is the strategy? And of course, what is the point of these series? And let's start with exactly that. The point of these Zero to Heroes, or these currency-based challenges, is to prove to people that even if you have a very scuffed build, right, super budget build, you can still farm a lot of currency per hour with minimal investment, as long as you kind of have good directions of what you're doing and a solid strategy, if you will. So that's the idea. Now, you could look at the cold iron points and go like, oh my god, but cold iron points are 2 to 3x on league start. That doesn't make sense. I would never have that. I get it. But the thing is, that's not what these series are about. These series are about showcasing to you that if you start late into the league, or if you're somebody who struggles with making currency at any point in the league, that these are the sort of things that you can do to actually get quite a bit of money per hour. You'll see that this is going to be not that fast, or not that slow. If I end up going for, say, a headhunter or something like that, it's only like 80x. We're going to be done this very, very quickly. But anyways, so that's the goal of these Zero to Heroes. Essentially, it's about teaching people how to make currency with different strategies. Now we've went over that, let's talk about what the strategy is going to be and how we've done so far, because we've only done a few maps. I basically set up the entire character last night, and then I did a few maps to test it out with a non-efficient filter, and of course with very minimal gear. I haven't had time to invest more into the character yet, which we are obviously going to be doing. Because right now it doesn't feel that good. It definitely still struggles a little bit with the content I'm throwing at it. It's already failed like 2 maps. So of course, it's a beginning, but even in the beginning, you will still be making some pretty serious money. And then of course, as you upgrade the character, it's going to get better and better and better. Okay, so let's talk about what the strategy is in terms of the breakdown, because there's a lot of things going on. So the outline, the big thing is that it's a grand design singular focus strategy. So we're using grand design to get as much pack size as possible, which means that we don't care about the small nodes on the atlas. They do nothing. We want to get as many notables as possible. So this is the idea, is to get as much pack size as possible for our main money maker, which is going to be expedition. Next, we are going to be utilizing singular focus in order to increase our ability to self-sustain our map pool. And that's why a lot of the mechanics that you'll see upcoming in the strategy are going to be revolving around making sure that we can sustain our maps. What we're going to do to actually sustain our maps is we're going to be using Harbinger. Now, Harbinger is going to give us quite a bit of monsters on the map. Now, they're not very good in terms of currency per hour, but they add a lot of monsters, and more monsters means more maps. Now, we're also going to be using Metamorph, which is also great for map sustain, because one of the Metamorph rewards is just drops an additional map. Of course, it does not respect your atlas, but still, there's a good chance that it drops your favorite maps. So that's why we're running with Metamorph, and it's also very, very cheap. Okay, next, to supplement our actual currency, our income, we are going to be utilizing as many things that are low investment, high returns, or no investment, decent returns as possible. So that means essences, right? Essences are basically no investment at all because we're going to be running Fortune Favors the Brave. So we're not running essence. We're just going to get the free ones. And that's going to be, fairly low returns, but no investment at all because it's free. Next, we're going to be running basically the heist cache as well as case in the joint. And we're not going to be blocking the heist yet. Now, eventually, I'm going to block this with straight and narrow, and instead, I'm going to be forcing a heist cache every single map utilizing the sextant. This is going to be a very good way to make a little bit more currency passively. And that's what we're going to do. But for now, we're just going with the free caches whenever we encounter them, because it's, again, no investment, okay returns. It's not going to make you rich at all. All right, next we're going to go with strongboxes. Again, no investment whatsoever, decent or okay returns. You get a free strongbox. Sometimes it's going to be multiple. Sometimes it's going to be the operative, which can drop you some scarabs, which can help you self-sustain, but also just, sell some. Maybe you get a winged. You never know what's going to happen. So that can be okay for money as well. Next, we're going to utilize the goal on the build. I'll have a PoE link in the description for this exact setup, which again cost me less than an exalt to make the entire build, including the leveled gems. Now, this is why we're using the shrine nodes, so an additional shrine, and of course, the effective shrine bus on players. Now, this is going to also be decent for using our Pandemonium Sentinels if you don't want to use it on the Expedition. Like, my build cannot handle the Expedition if I use the Pandemonium Sentinels currently. So what I'm doing is I'm using it on, say, for example, a strongbox, or for example, a shrine, something that is going to not put the monsters like at ridiculous levels of tankiness and damage, so that I can, actually do it. So that's kind of where we're at right with the strategy. Next, we're going to be using Eater of Worlds. Now, you could also go on Searing Exarch. It's a little bit more deadly, but it's kind of up to you which one you go for. I went with Eater of Worlds for now. I might switch up later. It depends on the price of the currencies. Of course, we're going to be using both Eldritch Gaze and Wrath of the Cosmos, and this is super deadly. This is going to kill your character a lot, like a lot. It's very, very tough to actually not die. I don't think, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter how tanky your character is. You're going to die sometimes because this is pretty crazy. But it's good for currency. As you can see, even just a few maps have dropped me 44 grand Eldritch Ichors. So yeah, there's a lot of money to be made there. And of course, depending on the price of these versus these, I might be switching up which one I'm doing. But for now, I'm going with the Eater of Worlds. Now, a lot of the money is also going to come from the invitations, right? Every 28 maps, you're going to be dropping a Screaming or an Incandescent invitation, which is going to be worth over an Exalt. So that's going to add up quite a bit if you're running the maps in, say, 5 or 6 minutes. Now, I'm more at the 8-minute mark or so because my build is really scuffed, not much damage. Clear speed isn't great, but again, less than a single Exalt for the entire character. But that's essentially the breakdown of what we're doing. The main moneymaker is obviously going to be Expedition. It's already been pretty decent. I've already dropped 3 logbooks. And, these rusted scarabs are super cheap. We're running Fortune Favors the Brave, as I already said. Now, in terms of how we're doing so far, we've already made back our 1 Exalt very easily. We've probably made about 4x so far. So if we were to, remove the 1 Exalt that we had to start off the entire project, we would have made about 3x profit so far, which is not great, but it's something. Now, the bulk of that 3x, however, comes from a single item. As you can see right here, I dropped a ring, which I was super excited about. This ring is a 79 fractured life. Now, fractured items can drop from actual expeditions sometimes. So this 79 life here basically sold for 2x. Now, I could have gambled it and tried to put it on either an amethyst or a vermilion ring because people try to get the double fractures so they can easily craft the gear. Realistically speaking, the best way to take advantage of that would be to try to merge it with a T1 attribute fracture on an amethyst ring to get the 79 life and the fractured, and then you can actually spam essences until you get the final attributes, and because you already have the life, you don't have to reforge life on it, so you can just suffix lock, veiled chaos, craft mana, unveil flat damage, craft minus mana cost, and that ring would be probably around 20-30x. So there's a lot of money to be made with fractured items if you know what you're doing, and because it's a perfect divine, even more so. However, I did not want to go through any of that gamble, so I just sold it for 2x. I was pretty happy with that. But that was a very good way because I'm probably going to use this 2x to get myself my initial cluster as well as a skin of the Lords, which is going to boost both my damage and my survivability, especially my survivability, and that should be pretty good for me. as well as, of course, a cluster, which is going to add something like 30% more damage to the build. I'm going to be a little bit more squishy, but of course, damage in softcore is the main thing that you care for, and I'm already squishy anyways, so who cares, right? More damage, at least I'll be killing things faster. All right, so that's pretty much where we're at so far with the series. Tomorrow I'll have an update video on how the first day of actual farming went, because this was just a few maps to, test the waters. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to seeing how the strategy pans out. Now, once we're done with that, whatever the goal may end up being, we're probably going to switch to another Atlas tree and another sort of zero to hero. Maybe I'll actually start from scratch on this. Maybe I'll do a hideout one. I don't really know. But for now, this is what we're going with. And I'm I'm actually really interested to see how it's going to end up going. I think it's probably going to be around the 5x per hour, given how scuffed our character is and, low budget type of shit. But it should be pretty okay. Now, before I go, as always, I do want to say a massive thank you to my patrons. So, Jaden and Rocky, Max, Solomon, Exo, Miss, Rescoro, Thomas, Mass, Nate, The Great Master, Alex, Tim, Mercury, and Bert, as well as Kai, Nailed, Jarvis, Joven, Bitizen, Vaith, Kalsmar, Endo, Drago, 99, and Sins Eater. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.